Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Too many companies focus only on transactions and miss the bigger opportunity, building lasting loyalty. Joining us today to share his recommendations and expertise is Scott Deming, who's a customer service and leadership keynote speaker. He's a trainer and author. Scott is a regular contributor of Entrepreneur Magazine, and he's worked with companies such as AT&T, General Motors, and McDonald's. Joining us now is Mr. Scott Deming. Thank you so much, Scott, for taking the time out of your schedule.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Great to be here.
Sure. So you have got quite a background working with large companies, medium-sized companies, and I'm sure some small companies too all over the globe. So thanks again for joining us, and anxious to get your take on what's happening today in business with these different topics that we're going to be talking to you about. From your perspective, what makes a customer truly connect to a brand today?
It has to, no matter what's going on with technology, no matter what type of organization or industry you're talking about, the customer has to feel that whatever this engagement is with the brand, it has to be relevant, it has to be personal, it has to be meaningful, but above all, it has to be emotional, because people are really craving that feeling like this brand actually does care about people. Mm-hmm. So if that connection, if that experience, that customer experience is really truly based on emotion and purpose, then the customer feels that. And when that happens, the brand is allowed a couple of missteps. The brand is allowed to charge more. The brand is allowed to do a lot of things they wouldn't otherwise do if it was just purely a transactional brand. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And today, so many brands that are out there that have got a cause behind them, right? Tom's Shoes, you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair away. Not only does it transcend or work very well with the customers, but it also works with the employees and the prospective employees that are going to go to work for that company, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if a company feels that, if an employee feels that the company they're working for does have a purpose, mm-hmm. and they feel like they're making a difference within that organization, then it just substantially increases the employee loyalty, longevity, it lowers turnover. So it's important to let your employees know that they're in this for something. And, but I will tell you this, I just want to say this very quickly. You also can't just keep, banging that drum, do this for us, do this for them, do this for us. Every now and then there's got to be, what's in it for me. You've got to let the employees know that there is a payoff for them too. This isn't, they're not all saints, they're not all martyrs. So you want to let them know that there is definitely something in it for them as well. But if the organization does have a purpose, the employees feel it.
Right. So drill down on that a little bit for the people that are watching in terms of, you say you've got to give it what's in it for them in terms of the team and the employees of the company. Give me an example of that.
Well, I spoke for Old Dominion Freight Lines, mm-hmm. And I did a series of programs across the country for their sales and leadership. Mm-hmm. And the CEO got up. In fact, before I did my keynote, I interviewed him on stage. And he really drove this home. And the reason he asked me to interview him, because he knew that I believed in this. I write on this. I talk on this. So, he said, folks, we do a good thing here. We're truly a great company. We're providing an amazing service for our customers. And he said, and we have to let our employees know this, that we are a great company providing amazing things. And they need to work hard for the customer. But he said, you got to let them know. They've got a great 401k. The harder they work, the raises come. The things that will matter most to them in the end is, am I going to be able to take care of my family? Am I going to have a good future? Sure. Am I going to have a good retirement if I work my tail off for mm-hmm. this company? So mm-hmm. you've got to let them know that, you're doing a wonderful service here, and we want you to work hard for the customer. The customer is very, very important. But really great leadership, they realize and they recognize that the customer comes second, the employees come first. You really have to let them know that you think about them and care about them more than anything. If you take care of them, they'll take care of the customer.
That's right. That's right. What are a few common mistakes companies make that unintentionally push customers away?
Probably the biggest thing, and it happens because companies get very busy. You know, they do get transactional, and it's almost by default because they're trying to
Sure.
do so much with so little margin and that kind of thing. So a lot of companies, what they do is they have, without realizing it, without enough training, without enough constant meetings and discussions and driving the mission and the purpose all the way down and all the way out, they create an inconsistent customer experience. So an inconsistent brand delivery, inconsistent customer experience. And if a customer has a great experience with sales and then they have a either mediocre or not a very good experience with service, it's not going to bode well. The entire brand is based on all the experiences, not just the one at the beginning. So
Right.
The biggest mistake, and I always say during my presentations, you want to kill your brand, your momentum, have an inconsistent delivery, an inconsistent message, an inconsistent delivery. So I think that, and again, it's not on purpose. It's just that companies and leaders get so focused on the X's and the O's. They're just running plays instead of really truly focusing on how are we going to make this an organization where the culture just bleeds the same mission inside and out.
Exactly. I think all too often companies lose sight of the fact that the sales team is going to sell that first product to that customer, and the service department or the service area is going to sell every product to that customer thereafter. Because that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? They bought it in sales, but now the real test is how they're treated in service. And if they're not treated right in service, they're not bringing that business back the next time they need that product, right?
Not only are they not bringing that business back, they're not going to speak highly of them to the folks they know.
That's right.
So you could have a great experience, and I've always said, look, it's a total experience, not just one part of it. But if I have a bad experience with, let's say, a dealership or a contractor or somebody, and they sell me and I love the owner and I love the salespeople and I just had a great experience, and then when it comes time for follow-up and that follow-up falls way short of my expectations, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not coming back, and I'm going to tell everybody I know, don't go there.
That's
so
right.
You've got to be very careful and cognizant of the fact that experience needs to be top shelf all the way through.
That's right.
And that's kind of what I'm talking about the inconsistency.
That's right.
They don't do it on purpose. They just don't focus on the importance of it, and it's extremely important.
And how many times have you heard when you go back to service and you need something, they'll blame it on sales and say, well, the salesperson should have told you this. The salesperson should have set that up. The salesperson should have set the appointment with us, or whatever the case might be. And you feel like you're caught in the middle as the consumer or the customer of that product going, wait a minute, don't you two talk to one another? How can leaders bring that company together to say, look, we're all on the same team. It's not sales against service, right?
Well, it's never anybody against anybody within the organization.
Right.
But even if part of the organization does make a mistake, does drop the ball, you want to truly tick off a customer and send them away for good, start making excuses.
Right.
You can't do that. You need to own it. You own every single part of that transaction from the beginning to the life end of that whole experience and that relationship. So, you make excuses and you'll start losing trust. And when you lose trust with a customer, your brand suffers greatly.
Yeah, no question about it. If a company wants to start strengthening customer loyalty today and really build a rock solid customer base, what's the very first step, in your opinion, that they should take?
It starts with leadership, and it has to be creating it with a culture. It has to create a culture where everybody in the organization, I said it before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'll tell you, a recent article that I just wrote, and it was published for Entrepreneur, I told a story about my experience over the past couple of years with a client that I have in Australia. And I went down there and I spent several days down there training them, and then I did a year-long video training program for them. But the CEO was incredible, and they're and I'm not exaggerating, they have zero turnover, zero.
Wow.
And they dominate their industry. They dominate it. And here's why. He has 3 rules. And if anybody wants to figure out how to create that customer loyalty and that employee loyalty, this is it. Tell your employees these three things. First is meritocracy. Everybody is given the opportunity to show their wares, not just based on your rank, not based on how long you've been there, but the merit is based on merit. If you have a great idea, I don't care if you're here for 2 weeks or 20 years, we're going to implement that idea. If you've got some sort of a new input that nobody's ever had before, I don't care how long you've been here, or the fact that you're a secretary and not a manager. We're going to use it if it makes sense. That's one thing, meritocracy. The other thing is perspective. You've got to take a look at every other perspective within your organization and outside of your organization, instead of just looking at things the way you've always looked at them. So if you can say, well, over there, they're doing things a little differently, and that may make sense. Can we give it a shot? But a lot of times people get so laser focused on the way they've always done things.
That's right.
And one of my favorite quotes is Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
That's right. So
start looking at it from different perspectives. And the third part of this whole thing, meritocracy, perspective, and being T-shaped. What this means is that if you need to focus on your core skills, your core aptitude, focus on that. However, get out of your lane every now and then. See if there's a way you can help others, or if there's a way they can help you. So when you do that, and then here finally, this is probably my favorite quote. The founder of SaaS software, Jim Goodnight, was asked, how do you create this amazing culture? Why do companies buy your product and stay with you forever? How do you do this? How do you have no turnover? How do you create such passion? And he said, I learned a long time ago, when you treat people like they make a difference, they will.
Yeah.
So you've got to let everybody in the organization know they're making a difference. What they're doing is meaningful. This is the culture that you need to build. When you do that on the inside, it seeps out to the outside, and the customers will be loyal to this brand because they see that this is something special.
That's right.
You can't just talk about it and then deliver a transaction. Everybody's delivering transactions today. It has to be something meaningful.
That's right. Why are we so afraid of building up the teams inside the company? It seems like in so many cases leaders will they'll pound their fists on the desk and say, you got to do more of this and less of that, and you got to be on time, and you got to do this, you got to do that. When in reality, they're kind of pounding that person right out the door, right? And
I think it depends on what industry you're talking about. If it's a publicly traded company or if it's a privately held company, obviously the publicly traded companies, they answer to shareholder happiness and they answer to quarterly earnings. So they make decisions much differently than an organization where the leadership is driven by passion and purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know why some leaders are afraid to do that. I think a lot of it is based on insecurity. Some leaders don't like to be outshined.
Yeah,
when I'm doing my leadership programs, I say this: don't be afraid to admit you're not the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Let people know you want their ideas. And in fact, encourage healthy debate. Tell people you want them to disagree with you if it makes sense.
Sure.
But a lot of times leaders, if they don't own the company, they're afraid of being outshined because they're a little insecure about their position with the organization. So
that's right.
I wish I had a concrete answer for you. I don't know why. It befuddles me,
Sure.
to see leaders doing this, but it happens.
Yeah, for sure. In a world where consumers have endless options, as you know, and AI is changing how we all interact, and what will loyalty look like in the next few years? And will it be as relevant and as important then, in the future as it is today?
Yeah. It'll still be as important, as relevant, and it'll still be earned the same way. I believe, this is me believing this, but I may be wrong. But look, with AI, everybody's going to be able to provide fast and accurate and personalized answers and service and products and all that. But you know what? The thing that's still going to make the difference between one company and the other is if the company uses AI and AI alone because they just want speed and they want delivery and they want to make that profit. And then the company that still understands that empathy, emotion, humanity are the most important factors in any type of relationship, including brand and customer. That's going to separate the companies in the future from the ones who are just depending on AI. Now, I 100% agree that companies need to embrace technology, embrace AI, but use it to enhance what you know is the most important thing in your business, and that is your human assets. You know, that humanity and that empathy cannot be replaced. And if you hold on to that and you're driven by that, no matter how much AI is out there, that's going to continue to solidify your brand with the customer.
That's right. That's right. It's people selling products and services to people, right? And that AI is great as a tool, but not the end all be all.
As a tool, you just nailed it. It's a tool. It's all it is. It isn't. It doesn't. It's not supposed to replace the human element.
That's right. That's right. Scott Deming, customer service and leadership and keynote speaker, author. Thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it. I know that our viewers will get a lot out of your visit with us. So thanks so much. Love to do a follow-up with you because there's a number of questions I have here that time doesn't permit me to ask. So until next time.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, love to come back. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for watching another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Thanks for watching another edition of the Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.